entitled The History of Swindon Theatre. Hope you enjoy. Right, where am I? It was arranged that this should take place on the 20th of September 1920 between the second and third acts of the play The Master of the House. The assemblage of luminary buffaloes wearing the chains of their order duly appeared at the prescribed time, and Manners was given his medal. In his speech, the popular manager made it clear that he had decided to stay on, to the following January at least. In the event, it was to be 5 more years before he gave up the job. Two factors had made him reconsider. Manners was anxious that the Empire should not be converted into a super picture house, which was what he thought would become of the building in other hands. Also, both of his sons had shown a keen interest in the management side of the business, and he dared to hope that they would follow in his footsteps. Alfie, the elder of the two, had shouldered much of the burden of management since his father met with his unfortunate accident, and had shown great aptitude for the work. He was well known to the audiences of the Empire Theatre and to most of the residents of the town. At the age of 15, he left public school to join the colours, and during the Great War he saw active service. He was a strong swimmer, a good rifle shot, and played for Swindon rugby team. An act that played the Empire in 1923 was the Elliot Savannahs, who came spectacularly garbed with their Garden of Harmony. Their other famed production, along similar horticultural lines, was the Garden of Orpheus, in which they wore equally flamboyant costumes and performed against intricately painted backdrops. They were a 7-member family musical ensemble who sometimes appeared as trick cyclists, the Cycling Elliots, and would in a long career eventually become Hazel Elliot and her Candies and the 7 musical Elliots. They made their first appearance at the Swindon Theatre in 1909, and for the return engagement brought their big spectacular act, with which they had not only appeared in all the principal dramatic theatres in England, but have also made a world tour on 4 separate occasions. They dressed eccentrically, the females with feathered headdresses and the men in Georgian-style costumes, and they played some 50 instruments, including the harmoniously humming spinning seashells. Nor did they come alone. On the same bill was G.H. Carlyle, the king of ragtime, at the piano, Chazancarry Kazrak, who provided merry moments, the singer and danseuse Eileen Lilly, Ara and Zita, who were trick. Hello viewers, just reading All for the Empire, the history of Swindon Theatre. Please sub me if you like it. And comedy cyclist Jimmy Hughes, the character comedian Miller and Flora, who gave vaudeville cameos, and Dick Rawson, who was inexplicably billed as the Blob. This show was particularly significant when Manners was having difficulty with the licensing authorities the following year. He singled out the Elliot Savannah's touring production as a kind of high-class variety entertainment that he wanted to attract regulars in the Empire. Although Manners had decided in 1920 not to leave the theatre, doubts about any prolonged tenure lingered on. A decision that he made in 1923 was spectacular, and one that would put an end to the rumours of his intention to retire from theatrical management. Not only would he stay, but he drew up plans to build a new place of variety, a new palace of variety, which would occupy the same island site between the Empire and the nearby County Court building in Clarence Street. I am confident that the tide is turning, he said, and that better times for everybody and years of real prosperity are surely dawning. He was an optimist. I have come to the conclusion, he explained, that the only thing to do is to bring one's methods up to date. It is useless to remain in business and stand still, just as surely it is impossible to run a business successfully if you do not advertise. Hence it is that I have decided to go on with the reconstruction of the Empire Theatre, and also to erect a first-class palace of varieties. This new building would be similar in height to the Empire. It would have stalls, pit stalls, a grand circle, and an upper circle. There would be tip-up seats throughout for not less than 1,600 patrons. There would be 10 dressing rooms and a sliding roof. It was optimism too far. Meanwhile, the planned reconstruction of the empire promised to be comprehensive and expensive. It was put into the hands of theatre designers W.G.R. Sprague and W.H. Barton of London. They proposed demolishing the existing pillars and entirely rebuilding the interior of the building. This would be a new entrance to the stalls and the Grand Circle, located on the corner of Clarence Street and Grandwell Road, where previously this part of the elevation had been used for posting playbills and theatre posters. The History of Swindon Theatre by Roger Traherne. Plans for revamping the empire was sufficiently advanced by the end of the year. Please sub me if you like it. For Manners to be more specific about his intentions, the theatre's existing auditorium was to be demolished, as would be the obstructive columns. From then on, all patrons would have a clear and uninterrupted view of the stage. 2 new circles made of concrete and steel were to be put in, increasing the seating accommodation in the 2 circles to 1,000. This would turn it into one of the most commodious and largest capacity theatres in the provinces. Everyone could sit on the latest comfortable tip-up seats, enjoying a new ventilation system that would give equable conditions all year round. He planned an entirely new scheme for decoration for the auditorium and other parts, in what he called free Renaissance style, and in a soft French grey colour with rose du Barry draperies and carpets, heavy carpeting everywhere. Electric lighting was part of his general scheme, and a new system of low-pressure hot water heating would be installed. Easy access was to be provided between the auditorium and the refreshment rooms, and new retiring and cloakrooms would be provided in all parts of the house. Manners also planned a room with 2 film projectors and a separate rewinding room adjacent, out of view behind the auditorium. He would also address the problem of drafts on the stage and in the dressing room areas, although nothing that was done in this regard ever managed to eliminate what appeared to be a built-in difficulty with drafts during the whole of the theatre's existence. Thank you, Yellow. Manners also paid attention to the exterior elevation of the theatre at ground level and the entrance area. He intended to build a fine entrance crush room at the corner of Clarence Street, Swindon, and Granwell Road, from where there would be easy and direct access to the stalls. The dress circle or grand circle he had not yet decided what to call it, and the boxes. This entrance would have mosaic marble floors with a marble staircase leading off. The booking office was to be constructed of Honduras mahogany, and other elaborate and brass furnishings would work in harmony with the general scheme of redecoration. Those wishing to access what Manners called the family circle would do so through a pay box, an entrance adjoining the main stage door in Clarence Street. There would also be a handsome iron and glass shelter wrapped around the main entrance and extending outwards to the curb in Groundwell Road. Lloyd's Bank agreed to advance the cost of the rebuild. Manners expected to close the theatre immediately after Easter week in 1924. He estimated that the work which he had insisted on giving to the local building firm, A.J. Colborne, would take 10 weeks and would provide employment for between 80 and 100 men. The theatre would reopen on August Bank Holiday Monday. Just as plans were being finalised for the new work, Manners lost his musical director. Oswald Bentley, who in February 1924 decided to take up a similar appointment at the Hippodrome, Ipswich. He left having been presented with a box of cigars, a well-stocked tobacco pouch, and a new wallet containing an unspecified number of banknotes. Lucky man. The History of Swindon Empire, All for the Empire, by Roger Traherne and Mark Child, The History of Swindon Theatre. Hope you enjoyed it. It's not easy to read. I'll be reading more tomorrow. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye. Yes, I do like poetry.